Okay, let's dive in. We've got this fascinating collection of material, excerpts, notes, fragments of documents. And they paint this picture. Well, it feels absolutely wild.
Hmm.
It's about this man. Seems like he's got state secrets locked inside his head. He's stuck in this really strange facility, and then somehow, boom, he's on the run from forces, way bigger than him.
It really is like a high-stakes puzzle, isn't it? Assembled just for you from these pieces you've gathered. Our mission, really, is to try and put these fragments together.
Hmm.
Figure out who's who, what's the real hidden plot here,
Yeah,
and maybe pull out some insights, about identity, power, all those complex layers under the surface of world events.
right. So let's start with the setting. This place, Parrish Island, the notes say, from the outside, totally unassuming.
Right, you see these boats marked NWRS?
National Wildlife Refuge System, you'd think, oh, park rangers, maybe doing their thing.
Exactly, but the sources are pretty clear.
Huh.
The people being ferried over aren't park rangers. If you get a bit closer, well, then you see the guard towers.
Electrified fencing, too.
Yeah, and the staff. They're described, interestingly, as having genial smiles, wearing khaki, but their eyes are hard, cold.
So it's a facade, a wildlife refuge on the surface, but underneath.
So something else entirely.
Yeah.
It's a secure psychiatric facility,
Yeah.
but, and this is key, it's specifically for patients whose minds are, quote, filled with secrets of state.
Wow. Okay. So the logic is risk management.
Pretty much. I mean, what do you do with people who know highly classified stuff but are maybe unstable,
Yeah.
unpredictable? This place is designed to contain that risk.
And the security reflects that, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. Guard towers, the fencing we mentioned, staff who are super vetted, top-level clearance, and just constant audio and video surveillance round the clock.
And there's one patient who really jumps out from the material, number 5320s.
Right.
Physically, okay, about 6 feet tall, 40-ish, brown, close-cropped hair, blue eyes. But the notes mention his intensity, this unnerving, almost physically penetrative stare.
Yeah, it's quite a description. We get his basic psych profile, but the material suggests this wilderness within him, his real inner state. It's largely unknown, even to the people holding him.
Which brings us right to the man himself, the one known as Hal Ambler.
Or is he? That identity, it gets complicated fast.
It really does. I mean, he seems to know he's Hal Ambler, but he's been inside so long he's lost track of time, which he notes goes against all his training.
Yeah, he's worried he's going mad if he doesn't get out.
But that training, it runs deep, doesn't it? Even stuck in there, he's doing, what, 100 one-armed push-ups?
Maintaining readiness.
Yeah.
And constantly observing tiny details. The soft toothbrush, why they time his shaver use, the fact there are no reflective surfaces.
All designed to control him, keep him compliant, maybe disoriented.
Seems like it. And there's this medical aspect, too. At first, they give him these dulling neuroleptics, standard heavy sedatives, probably.
But then something changes. A staffer, Laurel Holland, seems to swap them out, gives him pills that make him feel brighter-eyed, more buoyant, more himself.
Which means he then has to act like he's still drugged. He has to fake being medicated.
That's incredible, and this ties right into the identity mystery, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He feels like Hal Ambler. He remembers bits and pieces of this past, working for a shadowy unit called Consular Operations. But later, other people start questioning who he actually is.
His civilian existence seems like it's just gone, wiped clean.
Exactly. Records for patient 5312. They don't link back to any Consular Operations personnel files. The notes say they're just disconnected. And later, an investigator tries looking up Harrison Ambler.
And finds nothing.
Zero. No record found. It really plants that seed, doesn't it? Maybe he isn't who he thinks he is. Maybe his identity itself is some kind of construct, or it's been deliberately messed with.
That's a really core insight right there. Your actual self can just be erased from the system.
That's unsettling.
Okay, so we've got this highly trained guy, maybe with a wiped identity, trapped. The only way out is, well, escape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the sources give us this really great detailed account of how he does it. It starts with an interaction. An orderly comes into his room. Ambler pretends to be weak, physically distressed, starts to crumple.
Playing on expectation.
Precisely. And then, bam, he moves fast. Train movements shot upward, ramming the man's jaw with his head. The orderly's expecting this shuffling, drugged inmate.
And he gets a whirlwind.
Total surprise.
Yeah.
He goes through the orderly's pockets for access.
Yeah.
And he also uses a chip card that Laurel Holland, the nurse, had given him earlier. He correctly guesses it'll open a service corridor near the dispensary.
Smart, resourceful.
Very. Once he's in that narrow corridor, he grabs a wheeled linen cart And there's an odd detail. He sees a scuffed Red Bull can on the floor.
Yeah.
Pockets it. Just follows an indistinct intuition, the notes say. Then he finds a laundry chute. Big, smooth steel, no ladder.
So how does he get down?
Has to brace himself. Hands and feet against the sides. Just shows his physical skill and, sheer nerve, even under pressure.
Okay, so he's out of the main facility but still on the island. How does he get off?
This involves another layer of tradecraft. He manages to hitch a ride on one of those NWRS ferries. He's doing a body transfer, a morgue run.
Grim.
Yeah. He poses as an attendant from the facility.
Yeah.
He subtly establishes authority over the guardsmen on the boat, referencing his report, making it sound official. And crucially, he assures the guard he's not part of the escape that's currently happening, implying he's there cleaning up after the escapee.
Wow, that's smooth. Okay, let's talk about this past, he's trying to remember, consular operations.
Right. The sources say he was in a special access program. This is like the highest tier of operational security. And within that, the most secret unit was the political stabilization unit.
Known as the Stab Boys.
This sounds ominous, doesn't it? And in that world, operatives didn't use real names with each other, only field names.
His was Tarquin.
Tarquin. And the material notes something interesting here. The name wasn't just a code. It was like a person in his own right.
A whole separate identity.
Yeah. And that kind of life, it doesn't really lend itself to, deep civilian ties. You can't really have a normal life.
What was his cover?
State Department, Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, a cultural exchange officer.
Perfect cover for international travel and access, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And the sources mention he had this peculiar gift, an uncanny ability to detect deception.
Like a human lie detector?
Sort of, but maybe more nuanced. The notes stress how vital this was in his training, and they make a really interesting point. Someone can be telling the truth, completely honest from their perspective.
But still be wrong.
Right. If their source was deceptive, his gift could apparently cut through those layers, see the underlying truth or lack thereof.
And we get a glimpse of this in action?
We do. A past mission. Chenghua, Taiwan. Ambler, operating as Tarquin, was part of a stab team. Their target was a guy named Weichan Lung.
Okay.
Publicly, Lung was this rising star, a charismatic visionary. But the PSU dossier called him a monster. Ties to the Khmer Rouge, drug trafficking, murders.
Pretty stark contrast.
Absolutely. So the mission was framed as a surgical intervention. Remove the cancer before it spreads. Take out this poisoned populist to protect democracy's survival.
Heavy stuff. So while Ambler's trying to piece together his own past and stay free, other people are actually digging into things connected to him.
Exactly. From different angles. On one side, you've got this guy, Clayton Caston, a CIA auditor.
An auditor doesn't sound very field ops.
No, he sounds incredibly bland. Perma-press shirts, gray suits, eats the same lunch every day. But don't let that fool you. His mind is like a steel trap.
Okay.
He's described as always being found in thought, just meticulously tracking inconsistencies. They call him a combined harvester because he can just process massive amounts of data and spot the anomalies. Hates feelings in the office. Pure logic.
And he's the guy who caught Alder Chains.
Ames, Gordon Blaine.
Yeah.
Major counterintelligence cases. His specialty is forensic auditing, finding the patterns others miss.
So how does he get onto Ambler's trail?
It starts with patient 5312 escaping Parrish Island. But for Caston, the flag isn't the escape itself, it's the auditing problem. No billing code, no requisition signature for the patient's stay.
That's what catches his eye. A missing piece of paper.
For an auditor like Caston? Yes. It's highly irregular, it smells wrong. So he digs. He finds the Tarquin alias connection. And then he discovers the records are disconnected. Worse, deleted from every single database in existence.
Whoa.
Yeah. His auditor brain screams, cover up. He figures a high-level mover has to be involved. Someone senior, EL 7 level at least.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
So he starts connecting the dots. Tarquin's weird skills, the hospital stay, the wiped identity.
He sees a pattern forming. Meanwhile, completely separately, halfway across the globe.
Beijing.
Right. We meet Comrade Chow. He's a veteran of the MSS China's Ministry of State Security, their main intelligence agency. He works for President Luang.
And he's also looking into Tarquin.
He is. Initially because of that Chenghua incident. Liung's assassination in Taiwan. His investigation tracks Tarquin later to Canada. But here's where Chow finds something crucial.
What's that?
The photos. Photos of Tarquin in Chenghua doing the Lung hit, and photos of Tarquin later in Canada.
Yeah.
They show different men.
Wait,
Yeah.
seriously? Different people using the same alias?
That's what Chow figures out.
Yeah.
Which leads him to this really chilling conclusion. Lung's assassination. It wasn't about Lung being a monster or whatever the dossier said. It was part of a deliberate pattern, a sequence,
A sequence of what?
eliminating influential people, specifically people who are seen as, well-disposed towards China's current leadership under President Liu. Chow sees this web centered over China. Someone is systematically taking out potential allies or positive influences.
Okay, this is getting really complex. We've got Ambler, who might not even be Ambler, on the run. Cast in the auditor, finding erased files and suspecting a high-level conspiracy. Chow in Beijing, seeing a pattern of assassinations targeting figures friendly to China's president, possibly linked to a fabricated operative identity.
It's all pointing towards something huge, isn't it?
Yeah, a massive conspiracy. And the sources start to lay out who the key players are.
They do. A really central figure seems to be Ashton Palmer.
The conservative scholar?
That's him. Prominent guy. Has this network of disciples, they call them Palmerites, placed in key government and policy positions. He apparently had this early promise as an intellectual, but got sidelined years ago for views that were considered dangerous, extremist. Something about a speech he gave.
And now he runs a think tank focused on the Pacific Rim.
Chair of their program, yeah. Prefers elegant settings, apparently.
Yeah.
Chateau de Gournay is mentioned.
What's his ideology? What drives him?
Fear. Deep-seated fear of China's rise, the Chinese century, as he calls it. He sees it as an absolute threat to the American century.
And his solution?
Aggressive preemption. He believes you have to shape history, even through conflict. Quotes Heraclitus, "War is the father of all." Thinks the only thing riskier than trying to change history is not trying.
And China's current president, Liu.
Palmer sees him as his worst nightmare. Why? Because Liu is actually succeeding in integrating China into the world community peacefully, which completely undermines Palmer's narrative that confrontation is inevitable.
Okay, so Palmer provides the ideology. Who else is involved?
Ellen Whitfield. She's the undersecretary and director of Stav Ambler's old unit.
Stab boys.
Right. She seems fully on board with Palmer's worldview, described as devoted to acting early, that whole remove the cancer before it spreads mentality. The material shows her collaborating with Palmer and also with another key figure, Paul Fenton.
And who's Fenton?
Fenton runs a private military firm, a PMF.
Like mercenaries.
Essentially, yes. Sophisticated ones. The sources actually list a bunch of real PMF names. Defense Service Limited, Armor Holdings, Intersec, Falcon Star, Alpha, just to show how big this industry has become. Fenton's view is that PMFs do the jobs governments can't or won't anymore, and he hires the best, including ex-stab guys.
And he sees Ambler, or Tarquin, as potentially useful.
Exactly. As someone who's escaped off the
Yeah.
books, he's on the market, as Fenton puts it, a deniable asset.
So Palmer's ideology, Whitfield operational control via stab, or maybe ex-stab guys, Fenton's private muscle. What's the actual plot?
The target, as Cal suspected and the conspiracy details confirm, is Chinese President Liu himself.
The guy Palmer sees as his nightmare.
The very one. He's described as incredibly popular, almost revered, like JFK and the Pope and John Lennon all wrapped into one. And he has a state visit to the U.S. coming up.
Oh boy, I see where this is going.
Yeah, the plan is audacious. Assassinate Liu during his visit to America.
And make it look...
The U.S. government did it. They're explicitly counting on it. The beauty of the plan, for them, is plausible deniability. How? By using an assassin who officially doesn't exist,
Tarquin.
or whoever is currently using that identity, and the intended fall guy seems to be Ambler.
So they kill Liu, blame America using this ghost operative, trigger global outrage, maybe even war.
Which disrupts China's peaceful rise, achieves Palmer's goal, and reshapes the global order according to their vision. It's chilling.
Okay, so how does Ambler get pulled actively into this? He's trying to figure things out, right? Not looking to assassinate presidents.
Fenton contacts him, tracks him down to Montreal, meets him in the underground city there, plays on his history, praises Tarquin's reputation, best of my best.
Buttering him up.
Totally. Then he hires Ambler for a tricky assignment. Says this is this man who really needs killing.
And he spins a story.
Feeds him a line that the target is actually a rogue cons ops agent. Says a beyond salvage order has already gone out internally, implying this is an official sanctioned hit, but one the agency wants handled quietly by Fenton's PMF.
Making Ambler think he's doing a sanctioned cleanup job.
Exactly. And the target Fenton gives him, Benoit Deschamps, Director General of the IAEA.
The UN nuclear watchdog guy.
That's him. Fenton gives Ambler the briefing materials on that special combustible paper, meant to be destroyed instantly. The mission: take out Deschênes in Paris.
So Ambler heads to Paris, and this is where Laurel Holland reappears.
Yes, the nurse from Parrish Island. There's an incident where Ambler gets grabbed by a retrieval team, their van crashes, and Laurel helps him escape. She's clearly traumatized, but also shows this incredible rage and resolve.
She sticks with him.
She refuses to leave him, feels he saved her, maybe, even though he feels he's put her in danger. We get a bit more about her past, difficult childhood, abusive father, mother who gave up, but she pushed through, became a psychiatric nurse. He's tougher than she looks.
Does Ambler try to explain his world to her?
He does. Tries to bridge the gap between his covert reality and her normal world. He justifies the extreme measures, the secrecy, by talking about catastrophic threats, like someone selling tech that could kill millions. Argues his world, the secret world, is necessary to protect hers. It's a glimpse into that mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, the rationalization. So in Paris, Ambler gears up for the Deschênes job.
Gets weapons, a collapsible sniper rifle, a Glock sidearm, and forged documents. Laurel gets a fake passport, too. He arranges to meet Deschênes at his Paris apartment.
And Deschênes, what's his deal?
Well, he's the head of the IAEA, a big public figure, a symbol of international resolve on nuclear stuff. But he also has strong anti-American views, calls the U.S. the prime culprit on nuclear dangers. He seems genuinely baffled why anyone would target him.
So Ambler meets him, talks to him, uses his gift.
Tries to. He questions Deschênes, trying to read him, verify if he's really the threat Fenton made him out to be. Like reading a page from someone's diary, the notes say, trying to get a gut feeling.
But Ambler's plan isn't actually to kill him, right?
No. His plan is to stage the death, make it look like Deschênes was killed and disappeared. He preps these props, a latex blood pack, a small primer charge, wires. It's described as a theater of death meant to substitute for death itself.
Laurel helps him.
Yeah, she helps assemble the props, apparently even points out a potential flaw in his setup.
But then it goes wrong.
Horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Despite the staging, the plan failing, Deschênes ends up dead. For real.
Oh, man. Who finds him?
Laurel does. She discovers the body, realizes the staging failed, or something else happened. She's quoted as saying, "He's dead." Ambler asks what she means, and she says, "No, I mean, he's really dead."
Ambler must have been shocked.
Stunned. His non-lethal plan is in ruins. Or maybe it was sabotage. Either way, they have to scramble, move the body, try to make the failed staging look like a successful hit and disappearance. They barely avoid getting caught by the police who show up.
This is huge. Now, Ambler's implicated in a real killing, not just a fake one.
Exactly. It changes everything for him. Meanwhile, Caston, the auditor...
Still digging.
Oh, yeah. His investigation takes him to Davos, Switzerland. We learn he hates flying, hates recycled air.
Huh. An auditor who hates recycled air. Perfect.
But he goes anyway. He applies his auditing skills to the real world. Talks about looking for diurnal detritus, the little scraps and inconsistencies of daily life. Calls it real-time archaeology.
Sifting through the mundane to find the truth.
Exactly. He has this interesting reflection about certainty. How in the real world, it's not black and white, it's a gradient. You have to choose the right point of partial knowledge to make a decision.
While he's doing that, what's happening back at Khanzat's?
They're aware Tarquin is active now. They decide it's time for self-correction. Or as the notes put it more bluntly, time to clean our own litter box.
Meaning?
They send a retrieval team. Orders are simple. Capture or terminate.
So Ambler now has his old agency hunting him too. Great.
And Ambler and Laurel. They also arrive in Davos. The World Economic Forum is happening. It's buzzing.
Caston mentioned he'd been to WIF before, right? For a money laundering panel.
Yeah, another hint at his skills. So Davos is the setting. Ambler is hyper-aware, scanning crowds, looking for threats, seeing reflections, noticing a guy with a cruel face he thinks he recognizes. They figure out they can use the conference intranet to find people.
And Caston finds them.
He does. He pulls some strings, uses a high-level contact, and gets himself officially added to the WEF attendee list as a senior CIA officer. Full access. He tracks Ambler and Laurel down at the Belvedere Hotel.
Okay, this is it, the convergence.
This is where the main threads finally come together. Caston shares what he's found, including that really disturbing detail about Palmer researching the backgrounds of the people who got assassinated.
Which Caston points out is the kind of thing a guy does before taking someone out, not after.
Exactly. Premeditation, planning.
So in Davos, putting it all together, they connect the dots.
Yeah, the pattern. Loom in Taiwan, Deschênes in Paris. It's not random. It's targeting people linked somehow to China's new direction under Luang.
Palmer's name comes up. His ideology, aggressive preemption, his network.
It all fits. Ambler even recalls Palmer's famous quote, the one about how a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Except here, it's twisted.
And they realize the ultimate target is President Luang. And he's in Davos, speaking at the Congress Hall.
Right now, Kasten has this sudden, awful realization it's not going to happen. It's happening now.
He confronts Palmer and Whitfield.
Finds them in a hotel meeting room. Palmer is completely calm, explains they're making history, stopping the Chinese century. Whitfield lays out the plan coolly. Kill Luang, blame the U.S. A tidy little bank shot, she calls it.
Because their assassin doesn't exist. A plausible deniability.
Exactly. Back with Ambler and Laurel, Kasten relays this urgency. They quickly figure, okay, if the assassin doesn't officially exist, there must be a fall guy. Someone set up to take the blame.
Kasten uses his access, pulls up photos from the WEF database, looking for suspects.
Yeah, photos of attendees near the venue. They're scanning faces. And then Laurel points to one, identifies someone based on resemblance.
And then
Ambler looks at Laurel. Really looks at her. He sees her hand, her finger resting on what he thought was just a brace under the lens of her camera.
it's not a brace.
It's a trigger. In that instant, it hits him, like a lightning bolt, the notes say. Laurel, she is the assassin. She's the fall guy. His thought is just devastating. How could he have been so blind?
Wow. The nurse who helped him escape.
Is the weapon. So Laurel, armed with his camera gun, and Ambler are in the audience at the Congress Hall. Luang is about to come on stage.
What does Ambler do?
He acts. Just pure instinct. He pulls her hard into the aisle. Stops the shot just before it happens.
He prevents the assassination.
He does. But man, what a complex, twisted journey to get there. From that island psych ward to stopping a global incident in Davos.
It leaves you thinking, though. There are still a few loose ends in the material, aren't there?
Definitely. Like, who actually killed Duchenne in Paris? Ambler set up the staging. It failed. Duchenne was really dead. But did someone else step in? A backup? The sources don't explicitly say.
Yeah, that's a gap. And the sniper, the one who saved Ambler, Tarquin, a couple of times, killed the operative in the woods, killed that guy Cronus in Paris.
Never identified. There is a mention that the Chinese operative Ambler fought might have had another shot, but it's never confirmed he was the helpful sniper. Could have been someone else entirely.
And Cronus himself, the guy Ambler fought in Paris. His motivation was revenge, right? Thought Tarquin killed Fenton.
Yeah, he was apparently half-crazed with grief, and he revealed they had backup teams, even a fiber-optic mic monitoring Ambler. Shows how tight the surveillance was.
So, reflecting on this whole thing, we went from Parrish Island, the secret psych facility, followed this guy piecing together who he is, stumbled into this huge conspiracy.
Right up to the polished, high-stakes environment of Davos.
And the stakes were just astronomical. High-level people trying to spark a war, basically. Using Ambler, using Laurel as disposable tools to stop China's rise.
The insights that jump out are pretty powerful, I think. Just how fragile identity can be, how it can be manipulated, erased, even weaponized.
And how reality itself, what we perceive, can be shaped by hidden actors.
Yeah. That unsettling idea that powerful individuals, maybe even within official structures, can operate so far outside the norms, plotting things with global consequences. And how personal trauma, like Laurel's past, gets tangled up in these cold geopolitical games.
It makes you think about information, too. We had to sift through all these layers, just like Kasten with his real-time archaeology. You've got escape details, ideology, erased records. How do you even know what's real when deception is everywhere?
It really does make you question what's under the surface of the normal world.
So Ambler stops the assassination. He exposes the plot, at least to Kasten, the auditor. Laurel is pulled out of it, but what happens next?
That's the big question, isn't it? You got an auditor who knows, a former Black Ops agent who knows. When knowledge like this gets out about people operating with that level of impunity, can things just go back to normal?
What are the real consequences when the architects of a plan like that are actually revealed, not just suspected? That's definitely something to mull over.